Welcome to the Helping Families Be Happy podcast, where we explore the often messy world of family, love, and relationships. I'm your host for this podcast, Adina Oberman, a mom, former preschool teacher, picture book lover, and member of the Familius marketing team. I'm also the creator of Big Books for Little Hands, a site dedicated to connecting parents and teachers with the best books for the ups and downs of life with young children. We welcome today's guest, Rebecca Fox-Starr. Rebecca is a writer, therapist, and advocate dedicated to maternal mental health and supporting families through connection. As a licensed social worker, she works to normalize mental health struggles and provide compassionate guidance. Her latest book, Am I Doing This Right?, is an honest, heartfelt companion for anyone questioning their path, offering wisdom, humor, and the reassurance that they are not alone. This is Rebecca's fourth book, following Mommy Ever After, a Familius picture book that normalizes negative emotions. Over the past 15 years, she has built a loyal community through her writing, speaking, and advocacy. Today, she's here to share her journey, the stories behind the book, and what it really means to do it right, or at least to figure it out along the way. This episode aligns with the Familius habits, love together and heal together. You can learn more about the Familius 10 Habits of Happy Families by going to the Habit Hub blog on familius.com. Welcome, Becca. Thank you so much for being back with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to see your face and just to be able to chat with you.
It's always a joy to chat with you. But I want to dive right into your newest book. So can you give us a taste of what readers can expect from Am I Doing This Right?
So the cool part, I think, just from the outset is it is a choose your own path style book. So if you remember being a kid and they had these awesome books where I can actually remember reading them as a child and it's like, which choice am I going to do? And that's going to change your whole story. And this book is really about navigating the choices of mom guilt or parent guilt of any kind. But the cool thing is through every story and every vignette, and we take you from baby years to school-age child years to teenage years and beyond, every choice leads you to a place where you can cope. It's not always easy. It's not always happy. But there's always a way that you can cope, even if there are negative feelings. So each little vignette has some humor and some hopefully relatable content, but also some actionable tips to how to get through these hard situations. Because honestly, we all have them. So why not just take off the veil and say, we all experience these hard things. Here's how we can try to get through them.
That's so true and so relatable. I think that it's really a tool that provides such a nice balance because we're so focused on the aesthetic, right, of what life looks like. With social media, everyone is sharing the perfect dinner that they created, their perfect home decor, and these fantastic activities that they, planned with their children who always are on the right track. And I'm happy that we're starting to shine a light on the realities of what life, especially as a mom, a parent, is really. And that's one of the things I love so much about this book is that it's the tool that we all need for that balance, right? We can have those really beautiful moments and really picture perfect tidbits, but in between is a lot of guilt and a lot of feelings. So I'm really excited about this book. Do you want to share any of maybe your favorite vignettes or challenges from the book that you think people will be excited about?
Okay. So my favorite vignettes, it's really hard to choose. I think it honestly depends on where I am in that moment. Something that you were just talking about, though, that really a vignette that came to mind is actually one of the baby stories, which is it's not the place that I am in existing in my life right now because I have kids in middle and high school now. But I remember that in this vignette, it has a woman who's feeling badly about herself for many reasons and running to the supermarket to pick up formula. for her baby. And she's agonizing about the fact that she's feeding the baby formula because she has guilt about that. She's agonizing because she runs into another neighborhood mom. And this is someone who, based on her perception on social media, has it all together. She has a perfectly flat belly, the neighbor, while the narrator in our story has stretch marks and isn't feeling so confident about her physical body. And it turns out that, like I've experienced countless times in my journey as a mom, you don't know what's going on under the surface. The other mom has her own vulnerabilities, worries, and even though this woman might look perfect from the Instagram squares, she has her own problems. She has her own struggles. And I think that's something that I learned when I started blogging 15 years ago almost. Everyone has their own story. And especially when I started opening up about maternal mental health struggles, everyone knows someone who either has a specific maternal mental health issue or some sort of struggle with identity, mental health, someone they know is suffering. And it is so relatable. And I think it's just something that we don't talk about. So hopefully this book, in all the little vignettes, normalize those moments and those struggles. They happen to all of us all the time. And so hopefully everyone who reads this can find something resonant and something about themselves in all of the pages.
Everything that you're saying resonates so much with me because I have had all of those same struggles at one point or another. And now that my kids are beyond the baby stage, I have completely different struggles and completely different mom guilt. And I'm so glad that you're sharing about normalizing because I think I remember when my kids were young and they were bored and I was talking to other moms and I had like my son who was a newborn and I had my daughter who was like preschool age. And people were asking, like, do you think this stage, this maybe preschool stage, is easier? Do you think it gets easier once they're out of this like newborn baby stage? And my response to that is that no, because it's all hard. It's just hard in different ways. Like, hopefully, when you get out of that tough baby stage, you're getting a little more sleep, but maybe not. And then you have the challenges of all of the development and the milestones that are going along with those toddler years and those preschool years. So, like you said, you move on from one stage, but then you have the challenges and the guilt of the next stage. So, normalizing is so important and creating about talking about it and helping each other feel less isolated is incredibly important. So, I'm so glad that you're sharing that. Do you want to share maybe some general tools that you offer in the book that you think readers will find helpful if they're thinking about cracking the book open?
So with every vignette, every choice, so you have a story and it has a basic theme and you can make two choices. For example, one that might come up in my real life today, a call from the nurse. So this is in the chapter where you have kind of school-age children or the section of the book and you get a call from school and you know what it means when that number flashes on your screen and it's not usually good. And it's the child calling and saying, I need to come home from school. I'm not feeling well. It's something that I think when I say I may face today, I truly may face today because my son was not feeling great on the way to school. And I don't know fully if it was a physical or mental thing with him, that his symptoms could kind of have gone either way. And the way that I structure it in the book is I use DBT skills, which is really as a clinical therapist now in private practice, I use more than any other modality. I think DBT is awesome. It stands for dialectical behavioral therapy. I talk about that a lot in the book. I kind of break it all down. But the skills for that particular vignette, for example, are interpersonal effectiveness skills, where you're given an acronym. In this case, they're called GIVE and FAST. And I will not go into the whole description now, but it walks you through how to either say something that's hard, but making sure that, or ask something of someone that's hard, and making sure to simultaneously preserve the sanctity of your relationship with that person and preserve your own self-respect, which I think is really hard. I would say something that is woven throughout this entire book is the theme of setting boundaries, internal boundaries and external boundaries. That's something that we talk about a lot. And as I've healed from someone who suffered from my own postpartum depression and my own mental health issues, and then am now always trying to help others, boundaries have been a key component to my own success and the success of the people that I work with. So I think that there are fun activities. There's like a place to write your own rap song. There's a place to pop negative thought bubbles. There are some fun things within the book, but there are also a ton of tools. Something that's really, I think, fun about the structure. And I was so grateful to, in terms of the editing process, being able to bring this to life. But at the end of each little section or each little choice point, you get a merit badge. And the badge is like, they have fun little names, but they're about boundaries. They're about dialectical thinking, two opposing things being able to be true at the same time. They're about doing opposite action, which means if you want to change your emotion, doing the opposite of what you would inherently do. So if you're scared of something, you might want to avoid it, but actually doing the opposite is much more therapeutically beneficial. So at the end of the book, you have this directory, this whole, we say you can put it on a sash, put it on a vest, carry them in your purse, but you have this metaphorical selection of badges, and they are all tools you can use and come back to. And I really am hopeful and optimistic that they'll be helpful in real practice.
It does sound incredibly helpful. It sounds not only are you learning how to change behaviors that you want to address, and you're better dealing with these tough moments and these tough decisions. And you're also rewarding yourself in a way that's meaningful, not only with the badge, but also with giving yourself permission to set that boundary. That is, as you said, such a struggle. It can be, especially with friends and family, when we have these emotional situations where boundaries are tough. So yeah, it sounds like an absolutely incredible resource. I want to ask, you shared a little bit about just your experiences as a mom, kind of being sprinkled throughout the book, but can you share a little bit more about how, kind of where this idea came from and how it influenced the creation of the book?
Yes. You said it so beautifully. You will see little Easter eggs. And my kids are actually excited to go through it and see the Easter eggs. I can't honestly recall where I first got the idea of the book. However, I do remember it really solidifying for me when I was on my couch in March 2022, the week before my sister's wedding, with COVID. And all four of us had COVID and we were really sick. And I started to think, kids are not doing anything. They're on TV, they're on the electronics, they're just playing video games. Like, I should be doing more. And I'm like, hold on. I am sitting here really sick at a different stage of the pandemic. Like, it was definitely a different phase. And I'm putting pressure on myself to be doing more. Like, if I'm doing that and I know what I know, then other people must be feeling this way. And that really crystallized it for me. But something else that you said earlier really kind of allowed me to see a trend in the book that I hadn't even really thought about before, which is as your kids grow, the challenges evolve. I definitely think that having younger kids is harder in a lot of ways. I can't even imagine going back to that now because it just feels so physically taxing. And I actually think that the vignettes in the book represent that. And I don't know that I did that intentionally, but I guess if you think about the challenges that someone might face having a baby or a very small child, they're different than the challenges I now face having bigger kids. And they say bigger kids, bigger problems, but I would say bigger kids, different problems. And as you get into the teenage section of the book, the problems are much more emotionally weighty. They're having to do with your kids growing up and separating from you and creating their own boundaries and how much you can show them and how much you can expect of them. So I think that as I've evolved as a mom, the stories kind of evolved too, and they're becoming more and more relevant. But hopefully readers will find, I think, hopefully glimpses of themselves within the vignettes as well, and not just Becca stories. But you will see some things like a Blackbeard figure, which was very relevant at the time. That Lego Blackbeard figure is mushy food intolerant in the book. So that's like something that was a little Easter egg from my family. Don't know where he is now because in the 4 years since this book was put into creation, things have evolved. But there are little Easter eggs throughout that are representative of kind of my real life too.
That's really fun. And I really think it lends itself to bringing that authenticity to your work, which I personally think is just a hallmark of everything that you do. You have this really authentic voice and you share so much of yourself, which really I think accomplishes your goal of normalizing, making people feel as though they're not alone and kind of letting them know I think you can, especially at the beginning of parenthood, there can be times when you feel really like, oh my gosh, it's just me. Like I'm the only one that doesn't have it all together. And the authenticity that you bring and the pieces of yourself that you share, I really think really draw people in and help them to understand that you know what they're going through and that this isn't just something you wrote down because you wanted to write it down. This is coming from your lived experience and with a really genuine mission to help people in any way that you can. So I love this book. I thank you for sharing your voice with us, with your parenting challenges and triumphs with us. And this is a book I just want to give to everyone I know because it's so relatable, especially to moms. And I think that it's really just such an incredible tool.
Thank you. And my hope is that because the format's unique, it makes some of these heavier concepts a little bit more digestible. And also, because it's a choose your own adventure, you can read it and go through several times and read a completely different story each time. If you make one choice, you're told to turn to one page, and a different choice, you are told to turn to a different page. So I think hopefully there's a lot in there. And depending on where you are, you'll relate to one part more or another part, but you'll still find something in there that is entertaining, but also helpful.
Absolutely. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me when we were sort of at the beginning of developing the concept for this book is that so many amazing books so many of the incredible authors that we work with at Familius became writers because of books that really impacted them in their early life. And so when I saw that you were creating this choose your own adventure style book, I thought this is a book that is here because of Rebecca's love of reading as a child, because this book that she read when she was a kid made such an impact on her that she's still thinking about this as she is creating her own life as a parent and as she is having her professional life evolving. That's how much of an impact that one book can make on a person. And I think that the other side of that is that you've created a book that will make such an impact on people's lives and gives them tools that they'll carry with them, and I'm sure will inspire them to create something really meaningful in their lives. So if you can't tell, I'm super excited about this book. And I want to make sure that people can get more information. So we're beginning to wind down. Can you let us know how people can get in touch with you or learn more about what's going on with the book?
Absolutely. So the best place to follow me is probably on Instagram. I am a millennial through and through. I have a TikTok that is solely for stalking my daughter. My Instagram username is at Rebecca Fox Star. So just my name. And there you can find links to where you can buy my other books. My two first books are more academic nonfiction texts about maternal mental health issues. And of course, Mommy Ever After, which is I feel like my first real baby in terms of a book. That is my other Familius title. And then this book. And Mommy Ever After is the name of my original blog. It is now out of date. I don't really write on there anymore. But if you ever want to read some old stories, there are 12 years of content up there.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Becca.
Thank you so much, Adina.
As we conclude today's podcast, I'd like to thank Familius for their support in bringing this podcast to your ears and your heart. We'd be thrilled if you subscribed to the podcast and left us a review. And when you're ready for the next amazing book adventure, we'd be honored if you'd choose the book from Familius. One step at a time, we can make the world a happier place.